Testing, testing. No. There we go. No. Testing, 1, 2, 3. There we go. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Hello. I'm going to hurry and put in the description box. It wasn't letting me put my notes in there, so I'm going to hurry and put them in there right now. But hello, you guys. How are you? Happy Sunday. Why can't I see the chat? Hi, Wendy. Hi, Alyssa. Hi, Diamond, Chelsea, Caitlin, Ponda Bear, Ozzy. Hello. You're like the sister I never had. Aw, thank you. Hey, Val's here. You guys are so sweet. I was trying to get the link to this book in the description box, but it wasn't letting me, so now I'm gonna try to add it manually while we're live. But I did just do an interview with Andrew Robinson about his book. We have a copy of it here today. We've talked about this before on my YouTube and on my Instagram, but we're finally coming out with his interview. I really suggest, if you're interested in learning more about this, the order and everyone's personal stories, his story, he has so much insight about so many different topics that he discusses about the order and about his life. There's just so much that he covers, and then we also cover a lot in the interview. So if you're interested, I will leave the link to his book in the description box down below. And I'm also going to, once we have the interview out, I'll leave that linked in the description box as well. So it's called Escaping the Kingdom of God. Escaping the Kingdom of God. And he was saying that he had left in 2022. So I was asking him in his interview, I was like, are you still deconstructing? Because I feel like I'm still going through the motions of deconstructing. But, okay, I think I have the link right here. I have more links that I'm gonna put in here, but here's his book. I'm just gonna put it in there so that as we're live, you can go check it out. But yeah, we did discuss a few different things. I wanted to kind of brush on some of this stuff, obviously not give away everything from the interview, but something I thought was really interesting that he said in the interview today was how, and I came up with this conclusion as well about Paul, but he came up with it about his dad, Daniel. We were taught in the order that the war in heaven, right, where Jesus was saying free agency and Satan was saying force. So for anyone who's new here, it's a long story that goes, I don't know if it came from LDS teachings, but this story has been told over and over and over again, how there was a great war in heaven before any of us were born, and we were all up there in this war, and a bunch of the demons of hell chose Satan's plan, and us great people that got to be born on the earth chose Jesus's plan, and then the fence sitters. I think I've told the story so many times, but what goes beyond this story is that what were they fighting for, right? And that was that Satan was saying, we're just going to force everybody to do the right thing, and then everyone can go to heaven together. And Jesus was saying, no, we need to have free agency. We can't take people's rights away. And so that was the whole war in heaven, which is crazy, because what is the order doing? Which does the order sound like they're following? Free agency? Jesus' plan that they taught, by the way, this is all their teachings, or does it sound like force? And so what Andrew was saying was he was starting to find and draw a lot of parallels between Satan's plan and the way Daniel was running his family. Daniel's his dad. So it was super interesting to hear him draw those similarities, and he was saying that other people were drawing them as well. And so I was wanting, as we were talking today, it was really inspiring me to talk about emotional abuse again, because if you guys remember, there was a live stream where we were discussing emotional abuse, and there was an order member on the live stream, and he was saying, my family's not as bad as the rest, and like, he was actually giving some really good insight, and I was appreciating a lot of the stuff that he was saying. And I think he did say, my family is not emotionally abusive. I can't remember if it was along the lines of that or if it was exactly that, but I was like, does your family believe in the law of one above another? Because if they do, and if they live the law of one above another, which is what the order practices and preaches, one of the number one rules is the law of one above another. I was like, if your family preaches and practices the law of one above another, then they are being emotionally abusive. Because, unless I'm bringing this up again because so many order people don't even know what the definition of emotional abuse is. So I wrote some notes so that I wouldn't forget. We're gonna define emotional abuse. So it is the behaviors that abusers use to control, isolate, or frighten you. And a lot of the times these abusers are doing this emotional abuse to break down your self-esteem and your self-worth. So what emotional abuse is to basically make so that you don't have trust in yourself, so you have to trust in them, which is the law of one above another. You're trusting someone else over yourself. You have to second guess yourself and go and tie into the one above you because you can't be trusted to make decisions on your own. That's emotional abuse. You are not good enough to make decisions for your own life, so you need to tie into the one above another. The abuser uses emotional abuse to break down your self-esteem and self-worth. And this is why a lot of people who leave the order have such low self-esteem, and they have a really hard time making decisions because they were taught that their decisions would need to be ran by the leadership their whole entire life. Where they work, who they marry, if they can spend their money, what they can spend it on. It creates a psychological So when abusers do this, it creates a psychological dependency on the abuser, which is what we see in these cult members and these order members, is they now become reliant on the abuser because the abuser has stripped them of their identity, and now they're relying on, it's kind of a false, it feels very real, obviously, because it's happening in real time, but it's a false dependency, thinking that they can't do anything for themselves because they've been stripped of their identity. But in reality, they are capable, but the abuser doesn't want them to think that they have any worth, because once they have that worth, then they can walk away and they no longer will be serving the abuser. So I advise anyone from the order who is questioning things to look up emotional abuse, because we all can kind of paint a picture of physical abuse because that's something that you see with your eyes, right? Is physical abuse is something that you can watch happen in front of you, which even sometimes some people can be, the lines can be blurred because you're not taught in the order what abuse really is. But physical abuse is a little easier to spot than emotional abuse. But they have the same effects, right, on the psyche. And some people say that emotional abuse was harder for them to heal from than the physical, because the physical is a bruise and you can see it for what it is when it's happening. The emotional is a mental roller coaster and you don't know what's happening to you and you start to kind of spiral. Like even like gaslighting. So gaslighting is one of them, which I remember being gaslit, and you start to feel like you're going crazy. That's something that you think is your own fault too. So that's the hard part about emotional abuse, is you kind of take the blame for it all. Whereas sometimes with physical abuse, you're like, oh, well, this person's hitting me, I'm not hitting myself, right? The emotional abuse starts to make that you start to emotionally abuse yourself too. You start to believe, yeah, I am worthless. You start to talk to yourself in that way. So we're just gonna go through 12 different types of emotional abuse. I'm gonna leave this link in the description box too as well. It's thetherapygroup.com. They're talking about 12 different emotional abuses that are not physical violence. So I'm just gonna brush through them because there's 12 of them, and if you're interested in diving deeper into each of these, you can. I'm leaving the link. One of them is overprotection. Sometimes overprotection can be glamorized as being masculine, claiming what's yours, and dominant. Nevertheless, there's a fine line between being protective and being overprotected. If you are enjoying a conversation or quality time with someone your partner deems as threatening to your relationship, ask yourself if their seemingly abnormal reaction is a response to an objective threat to your relationship, or if they may be coming from possible feelings of insecurity, inferiority, possessiveness, or jealousy. If their aggression or shaming towards your friendship or relationship with others feels intrusive, it's because it probably is intrusive. Ask yourself, do I need to be protected right now? The next one is gaslighting. This is one we talk about so much because gaslighting has become, I think everyone has been gaslighted in one way or another. And so it's good to know the definition of this and what symptoms of gaslighting are. So this one is talking about it being defined by, let's see, Merriam-Webster defines it as an attempt to make someone believe that he or she is going insane by subjecting that person to a series of experiences that have no rational explanation. Gaslighting makes you ask yourself if you are going crazy for thinking or feeling this way, which I can recall so many times where I've been like, am I crazy? Is it me? It's not me, is it? You might attempt to discuss something that the abuser said or did that hurt you, and they will outright deny that they ever said or did such a thing. There's so many times where I felt the need to record conversations from someone because they will just flat out say that never happened, and you're crazy for even thinking that. And then you do feel crazy. They'll deny that they ever did or said such a thing. They can convince you that you have misinterpreted or misremembered something, and even that you caused your own hurt until you start to question your own truth. The biggest issue with gaslighting is how covert it is. In its most extreme scenarios, it can convince you that your partner is abusing you because of how much they love you or because of how terrible a person you are. Only they can love you this much. The next one is name calling. Name calling is emotionally abusive. It seems surface level at times, but some name calling can cut deep, especially when referring to someone's identity, sexuality, masculinity, femininity. Name calling, it underlies what that definition of emotional abuse is, right? Trying to tear down someone's self-worth, tear down their belief in themselves, making them reliant on you. Gradual isolation is one, where the abuser is highly effective at making sure that they are the only one that you turn to. They don't want you to trust anyone external. And I had this happen a lot with emotional abusive partners. They would say things like, don't air our dirty laundry. Don't tell your sisters about my personal stuff. Like they would claim it as it's their own, even though we're in a relationship together. So it would guilt me into I don't want to be talking bad about my partner. But in reality, it was making so I had no outlet to turn to other than him. I also saw other couples that did this that came out of the order. Well, women that got into relationships with toxic people because they didn't heal after leaving and they got with an abusive partner, and they would say things like, you shouldn't have gone to anyone else, you should have came to me first. Like the whole head of the house thing, but on steroids, right? Like you need to come to me first before you go anywhere else. Guilt tripping is another one. Guilt trips are requests for you to let down your boundaries. Please just call me back. I know I said some messed up stuff and that you don't want to talk to me tonight, but I just really need you to listen to me. Guilt tripping you into feeling like you owe them your time and energy. Guilt trips make you feel guilty for setting and maintaining boundaries. It's basically asking for consent to cross or violate the boundaries that you set to protect yourself. Because remember this, boundaries are meant to protect you, not hurt them, but the people who benefit from you not setting or maintaining your boundaries are usually the first and only ones to have problems with your boundaries. So there's so many more, like coercive sex, meaning guilting you into having sex with them or keep asking you until you eventually give in, damage to your property, stalking, body shaming, financial abuse, abusive sleep deprivation. Yeah, so many on here that I think that they did such a good job at covering all of this, the author did. Her name is Caitlin. Let me just hurry and add this so that you guys can click into it. If you would like to read more, I found it very, very, I can't think of anything she didn't cover. Forms of emotional abuse. I think it's just very important because sometimes I forget that, because I learned it, I sometimes think that it's like secondhand information, right? But there's so many people in the order that are still trying to digest what a cult is. And so I just find it really important to keep covering because I'm learning more and more that a lot of order members are watching, and whether they like me or not, this is information that they deserve to have, and they're not getting in the environment that they're in. My father did all of this to my mom. I'm so glad he's underground now. Isn't it sad? It's like the person in your life that was supposed to be your protector, is supposed to be the person that loves you unconditionally, ends up being the one that causes the most trauma in your life. And you get relief when they've passed on. There's this, don't quote me exactly on this, but there was a study that was done on narcissists at the end of their life. Narcissists will have barely, if any, people visiting them in the hospitals. And this is the thing. In the order, that's not true because there's a lot of obligation. People are obligated to be around the narcissist towards the end of their life. But a lot of people still, I remember, can you see me now? Can you see me now? Let me refresh it again. Hello? Testing, 1, 2, 3. Hello? Testing. Are we good now? I think it's because I connected to this internet, and this internet's not very good. Am I still blurry? Okay, hi. Val, by the way, I need to hang out with you. I was asking Val if he wanted to do a reaction to My Husband's Not Gay because he has a lot of insight on especially Utah Mormon gay men who are closeted. There's quite a lot of them here. I'm here in Utah, by the way. It's interesting to see how much, just because it's against the rules and against what God wants as they preach in the LDS church, doesn't stop it from happening. It just causes people to, it's kind of like when you shame someone for telling you the truth, then they're going to tell you a lie. If that's their truth, they're just not going to tell you the truth. I would love to do a whole video on conversion therapy and the history of that, because that's been so fascinating to me that they actually went through with something like that, thinking that that would actually cause someone to change their mindset on their sexuality. But that's a video for another day. What's coming up on the channel this week is going to be the How I Escaped a Cult is a new show on Hulu. I just did a reaction to the first episode with the Tony Alamo cult. Oh my gosh. That was... I did not think that I was going to learn about a new cult, but I definitely did, and it was so interesting to see. I won't say too much about it because I'm going to put the video out probably later today, but it was interesting to see how the cult started with his wife, and then at the end of her life, she told him to stay away from it and step away from the church, and she knew that he was going to mess it all up, and she was right. It was interesting to see how quick the church went. And I'm not saying that she had the church so in great hands before, but it was in better hands than what he ended it with. Does this keep touching this? Sorry. Hi, Denise. Thank you, Phoebe. My sound's cutting out now? Great. Yeah, you know, Brent Jeffs, his book, The Lost Boy, was one of my inspirations to leave the order. Someone snuck me that book, and he was my idol for a while. And I think I told some of you guys a story on an earlier Culty Cup when I was helping my sister Rachel escape. It's just so crazy. So I had read his book, I was obsessed with it, got in trouble, got caught reading the book. My dad took the book away, was really upset with me. I escape. Then as I'm helping Rachel leave, she met up with me I remember it was in Jordan Landing. We met up, we snuck out to talk about her leaving and what she wanted, and we went to this restaurant. I think it was at Applebee's. We were meeting at this restaurant, and I ran into Brent Jeffs, and he didn't know me, obviously, but I went up to him and I was like, do you remember the girl that messaged you from the Kingston clan? Because I messaged him on Facebook, and I was like, I'm in a cult right now. And he had such a good message to tell me. And then what are the odds I run into him at Applebee's? I'm pretty sure it was Applebee's. He was with his daughter, and I was like, this is so crazy that I'm running into you right now. And he probably thought I was a bit much, and I probably was, but I was like, my sister's over there. She's leaving now. I was like telling him about my life like I knew him because I read his whole story, and he's like, okay, I'm just trying to have dinner with my daughter, okay? But it was really cool to be able to meet him, and I didn't know that he was on that show, so I'm excited to watch that part of it now. I just watched the first episode, did the reaction to that, and if you guys end up liking the reaction, I'll continue doing the reactions, but I do plan on watching the rest of them. I think you're related to Brent too, as well as a lot of FLDS people, including the whole state of Utah. Yeah, because he's also Steed, and I'm pretty sure I'm related to the Steeds because the Steeds have a lot of Johnson. Steeds, Allreds, and Johnsons kind of all were, I don't know. You probably actually know more than I do about this at this point. Anyways, I have to film a few other things tonight and get some editing done because I want to get this video out to you guys tonight. So I'm probably going to head out, but stay tuned for a lot of these episodes that are coming out on this channel are going to be really good. I've interviewed 3 people while being here, and I have another interview with someone who wrote a book from the order as well. So do you want to say hi? Priscilla's here with me too.
Yeah.
Say hi. We're going to be filming together too. Oh, she's doing her makeup. Her contour. We're going to be filming a few more TikToks too today. So thank you guys for joining, and Denise and Chris will say hi, Priscilla.
Hi.
What did you say? Isabel's first cousin is Carlos Owen, 35 in the order. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. There were some splinters that came from, I think that Owen is from FLDS too, if I remember correctly. Because Isabel technically is from FLDS because of Price Johnson. Price Johnson's brother was the leader of the FLDS, I think, or high up in there. Anyways, thank you guys for joining. Thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And we will be going live tomorrow on Patreon. I will leave the link to that in the description box down below. But again, if you are interested in hearing Andrew's story about escaping the kingdom of God, there's so much information in this book, and it's a pretty easy read. I left the link to his book in the description box down below, and you will be seeing an interview on my channel with him this week, hopefully this week, maybe next week. But thank you guys so much for all the love and support that you've been giving my channel. I'm so grateful that I have all of you guys, and that I see all these OGs here that have been here from day one, and all of the newcomers too that have been so supportive. And I can't thank you guys enough, and I feel like I say this every time and I sound so sappy, but I really do appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much. I will see Patreon family tomorrow and the rest of you guys next week. Okay, love you guys. Bye. Have a happy Sunday.